Q&A time. Before we get started, just want to let you know that the Spotify playlist is up. So you can find it in the description box and comment section. I handpicked the best songs, and once you listen to that playlist, you'll make all kinds of PRs, guaranteed. So let me know how you enjoy it. I would love to hear your feedback on it. And let's move on to the Q&A. How do I know I've reached intermediate stage? Because I weigh 140 pounds. Okay, when you reach the intermediate stage, you will no longer weigh 140 pounds. You might be around 155, 160. You're going to gain at least 10, 20 pounds once you go from novice to intermediate, okay? Now, don't base it off the weight, though. Even though that is a good estimation, that's not the most important thing. Base it off when your linear progression gains stop. And on average, that'll be around a 3-plate squat, 2-plate bench, 4-plate deadlift. Some people, it's going to be a little bit lower, others a little bit higher. And what I found is that those who are really, really heavy can push it a little bit more, whereas the skinnier guys, a bit less. So once your linear progression ceases, you can no longer make progress, workout to workout, or even on a weekly basis. That's when you move on to an intermediate program. And that process will usually take around 6 to 12 months. For some, it could be around 15, and worst case, maybe about 2 years, but that rarely ever happens. The max that I usually see is around 15, so don't worry about it, all right? Do I need arm wrestling specific exercise as a novice, or is it better to build a foundation of strength first? My goal is to be a better arm wrestler. I would personally recommend that you build a strength first. However, yes, if you're going to be a competitive arm wrestler, you need to be specific right now. I'm telling you from experience, man, that squat, bench, deadlift is not going to mean anything when it's time to arm wrestle someone who actually practices for the movements and who does the sparring. Trust me, I would know. I did a little competition at the Toronto Pro Show. I got wrecked by a guy who was like 20 pounds lighter than me, okay? And I also got wrecked by this guy who was not even that big. Like, he was actually pretty skinny looking, but his forearms were strong as hell. And because he did the arm wrestling specific training, he wrecked me. Now, I bet that dude would not be able to bench 225. I'll put money on it. I'll put money as well that his deadlift is weak as hell and that I can probably outgrip him on many lifts. But because he trains like an arm wrestler, he was able to defeat me, even though he probably is a novice on a variety of different compound movements. So definitely start getting specific right now. Not saying you should drop the novice program. Obviously, build your strength, but definitely include some accessories as well, okay? Hello, Alex. Can I grow decent traps if I don't want to do deadlifts, rack pulls, or shrugs? And how? Thanks. You could, but you're limiting your options here. But don't worry about it. I got you covered. Here's what you need. Cheat rows and direct neck work. That's the best possible way of building your traps if you're not going to be doing all the other stuff. So for the cheat rows, pick something that allows you to overload. I recommend a T-bar row. The T-bar row will really stretch out those traps. So a cheat T-bar row. And for the neck, very high volume. Hit all the angles. Do the front, the back, and the side. High volume, 4 sets of 25, get strong as hell in the neck. Because it's directly connected to the traps, it's going to help you out more. And let me tell you, neck is more important than traps. That's going to bring me on to my next question. Why y'all obsessed with the neck? All right. I'm obsessed with the neck for the simple reason that it's one of the most important areas for looking big as a drug-free lifter. I mean, if you have a pencil neck, your physique is automatically ruined, or at least not as good as it could be. There's a reason why in Naturally Enhanced, I list the muscles that make you look big in this order: neck, traps, upper back, shoulders, forearms, and glutes. I rank neck above traps. That's how important it is. You can have decent traps, but if you got a super thick, wide neck, you're going to look really intimidating and really massive, okay? So the neck is crucial, absolutely crucial for looking as jacked as you possibly can if you're not taking drugs. On top of that, it makes you look leaner, makes you look way more aesthetic. I don't care if you're 8% body fat or 20% body fat. A larger neck is a sexier look. You will look far more masculine, far more intimidating, much more impressive overall. You cannot go wrong with having a thicker neck. It's just, it looks better. It really does. On the performance side of things, we could say that for combat athletes, it's very, very important for preventing concussions. You can even save your life in a car crash, you know? So neck training has a multitude of benefits. It's great for injury prevention. It's great for strength training. It's great for bodybuilding, all right? So that's why it's so freaking important. Neck is more important than traps. For looking big, neck is up there. Absolutely. Raises before presses for better shoulder gains. This is kind of the pre-exhausting ideology. It could work. A lot of bodybuilders train like that. They'll do all their accessories first, and then they press after. This way, they don't need as much weight. They're getting more out of less weight. And for volume work, yeah, why not? Why not? It's the same thing as training your arms first and doing your presses after. I mean, look, if the bodybuilders have been doing it for a long time, it's time tested. The anecdote proves that it works. Go ahead and try it. Would I do this? I mean, probably not. I've tried muscle priority in the past, but hey, experiment and figure out if it works for you, all right? I know for me, I like doing push downs before my extensions. Even though it makes me weaker, that's what I want. I want to do extensions with a lighter weight. This way, it's better on the elbows. So if you're an older guy who wants to preserve his joints, or you're just in this for pure bodybuilding purposes, I can see it working, all right? How do you achieve your protein intake with just one meal or two and without meats? I'm starting intermittent fasting, and it's hard to get my protein, 160 to 200 grams with 2 meals and eating meats. Well, the thing is, protein is extremely easy to get, and you'll get it automatically if you're following a proper diet in the first place. Like, I don't count my protein. I just don't. Because whenever I do end up counting it, I'm always on point. Like, I'm never off, ever. Like, literally, I'm never off. And the thing is, the protein needs is so low that it's not even a concern. Like, 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is all you need. So for me, that's around 128 to 130 grams. That's F all. I can get that easily without meat. I can get that just by eating carbs, to be honest with you. But the thing is, I do have other foods in my diet. I don't just have pasta, for example. Whole food, lots of variety in there. And when you have one massive meal, you can get your protein. Think of it like going to a buffet. When you go to a buffet, you can rank up over 3,000 calories. And you can hit all your macros, no problem. So why would it be difficult to do on a clean diet? Other than the satiation effect, it's totally doable. Now, worst case, protein shakes, man. There's vegan protein powders that exist. They're actually quite good. They don't bloat you up. They taste amazing. Yeah, give those a shot if at the end of the day you're missing a little bit, you know? But just roll with 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Eat a clean, whole food diet. Then add a little bit of protein on the side if you have to. It's a joke. It's really a joke. It's not hard. Can you recommend programs for at-home dumbbells, bench only? You see, I don't really know any programs like that. I've heard this question a lot of times, but I don't know what to recommend you. I just don't. Most programs that you see are either like barbell only or a variety of different things. Combination of barbell, dumbbell, machine. So I don't know. Maybe I could write your program, or maybe you could just take one that already exists and replace all that barbell work for dumbbell work. Simple. So if it says you have to do, I don't know, barbell bench, barbell row, barbell overhead press, well, then you replace that for flat dumbbell press, the shoulder press, and the dumbbell row. So find a system that is proven, find a system that works really well, and incorporate dumbbell movements instead. And if you want to use concurrent periodization, again, it's really easy to do. You know, for your flat presses, for example, on your presses, you rotate the variation. 1 week could be an incline, 1 week a decline, 1 week a flat, 1 week a floor press, you know what I'm saying? Mix it up like that. You're still using dumbbells, but performing different movements. So just be a little bit creative and find programs that already work and just replace the barbell work for dumbbell work. That's my most general recommendation I can give you. Is overhead press weight correlated like the bench? Not the same, but for some people it does affect them quite a bit. Like when I talked with Omar Isuf, he told me that when he loses weight, his overhead press drops like crazy. For me, it's overhead press and bench. For a lot of people, that's not going to be the case. I would say most people, bench, you're going to see a significant drop. Overhead press, very minor at best. Because when you bench, your stomach increases in size. You become thicker overall. Hence the bear mode physique being so freaking awesome, right? Like you're literally becoming thicker. So the range of motion decreases a little bit, right? And you got more cushion for the pushing. So it's definitely more correlated with the bench. Because now you're literally affecting your leverages in that sense. Overhead press is like how much fat can accumulate on your upper chest. What effect can the body fat have on your leverages? Not as much, in my opinion. So I believe that bench is more correlated. Overhead press, some people, you're going to see a massive drop, all right? I would just say it's a case-by-case basis. I can't really say that it's universal for everybody. But I know bench, for a lot of people, they're going to have problems. Hey, do you know if coffee can mess up with your digestion? Have you experimented with it before having your fasting habits? Well, I have coffee when I fast. I've heard that's not really the best habit though, so maybe I should be dropping it. Now, my understanding is that coffee can mess with the gut. In a way, it affects the acids of your stomach, making it harder to digest meat after. Sometimes you'll end up with stomach issues as a result of overindulging in coffee. Now, the question we must ask is if it's coffee period or the dose. What I could say is that a lot of coffee addicts have screwed up stomachs, just the way it is. But if you're having 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day, is that the same thing? I don't really know. Who knows? I think there's some research demonstrating that although coffee does have benefits in other aspects of life, because it messes the gut, it might not be worth it at all. I'm not as educated on this topic as other people. I'll just be straight up with you. All I know is that for some people, it can cause stomach problems. A lot of people, actually. It can also cause them to become nervous. It can make them addicts in a sense, caffeine addicts. Many people use caffeine as a crutch. So I have no idea. I'm not an expert. But I think a lot of people will have stomach problems when having coffee, absolutely. Won't doing Jefferson rack pulls with the same foot stance all the time cause imbalances? Of course it will. You have to alternate your stance when doing Jeffersons. Same thing for all forms of unilateral work. It can be quite tempting because you will find a position in which you're strongest at. For me, it's the right leg forward. And it'll be really tempting to just stick with that right leg because you can lift more weight and everything is perfect. It's like a fighter trying to do southpaw when he's unorthodox. It's like you don't want to switch, you know what I'm saying? But for muscle building, it's crucial. Same thing for muscular imbalances, especially on Jeffersons, bro. You can end up with a serious imbalance. I actually got one. It made my imbalance a little bit worse. Like my left lat started getting a little bit wider than my right lat, which was already a problem before, but Jefferson's made that problem worse. It also made one of my obliques get a bit stronger. I mean, I was not being smart, you know, and I know that it wasn't smart. I was just doing my right leg. I was doing my right leg for months, as a matter of fact. So that's the worst possible thing that you could do. I know it's tempting, but try to mix it up. Either every set, every rep if you want to go even the crazy route, or just every other workout. But don't just be on one freaking leg all the time because you will get an imbalance, 100%. In concurrent periodization, how are you managing your volume when you constantly change the exercise variation, usually from full range of motion to a partial? Surely a deadlift will amount to more volume than a 3-inch block pull. Well, first of all, you're making the fatal error of saying that it's usually from a full range to a partial. That's absolutely not true. I don't know who told you that, but that is completely false. Concurrent periodization is about rotating movements that are specific. Now, in some cases, that might be a partial like a block pull, but in other cases, it can be full range if not deeper. For example, switching from a wide grip bench, touch and go, to a close grip bench with a pause. Or adding bands and chains, but you're still doing full range of motion. Or going from pause work to pin work. All you have to do is make the exercise selection as specific as possible, rotate through it, and you're going to get stronger. Now, the management of the volume comes in the fact that the sets and reps can remain rather similar. The percentages can remain rather similar. The total workload can remain rather similar. And with the exercise being so specific, it is managed throughout the yearly cycle. Hence why you can max out every single week after week after week after week without having problems in recovery. So it's a misconception to state that you have to switch to a partial. That's just not true. Now, that is an effective method if you're incorporating something like progressive range of motion. But let's dissect that a little bit, right? If you do go from a pull off the floor to a 3-inch block pull, you will usually increase the weight by a certain amount, okay? Which means that the workload will automatically be a little bit higher. On top of that, because it's safer on the lower back, you can perform more volume on a block pull compared to a pull off the floor. 1 set of 5 off the floor versus 1 set of 5 off blocks is not the same. A block pull, you can actually triple your volume, maybe even quadruple. You can do a 5x5 block pull and your lower back will feel fine the next day. You do a 5x5 deadlift, might not be the same situation. So I would argue that raising the height a little bit will allow you to do more volume, more weight, therefore more workload. So you are managing your volume in a perfect way every single time. On top of that, you have to think about this, right? A block pull is only elevated very, very slightly. Do you honestly think that you're not managing your volume just because of that? Because you increase it by a tiny, tiny amount? Let's be honest here. The deadlift range of motion is 100% arbitrary. It is determined by the plate size. So this idea that that's full range of motion in the first place is also false. So in sum, concurrent periodization, you're managing volume through keeping the sets and the reps similar, through keeping the percentages in a similar range, but you're rotating specific movements. And because they're so specific, your workload is always on point. That's why it's hard to mess it up, especially on a twice-a-week setup where you got one intensity day, one volume day. It's really hard to mess up. So there you have it. Concurrent is very flexible. How would one train the pull-up or pistol squat or one-arm push-up if he can only do 1 rep? How should he balance training intensity and recovery for fastest results? Simple, my man. You can do 1 rep, right? Okay. Perform multiple sets. So do 5 sets of 1 on your pistol squats. And then try getting 2 reps in 1 set. If you're still not able, just keep ramping up the sets. Just keep doing sets of 1 every single time. You're going to get very proficient at the movement, and eventually you'll be able to do rep work with that. And then it's just smooth sailing from there. Another method is to incorporate greasing the groove. You can do one pistol squat. Excellent. Well, then do one pistol squat every few hours. Do it in the morning, do it in the afternoon, do it at night. Imagine how many pistol squats that adds up at the end of the week. Do the math. If you did one pistol squat every day, that would amount to 7 pistol squats a week. That's at the bare minimum. And imagine how that accumulates. So embrace those reps of one. Keep at it. Alex, in the novice program, should we take deloads or just keep progressively overloading? You keep making progress until you stall. Simple as that. If you stall, you do the weight reset and you build back up. And if you just keep stalling every single time, maybe after 3 attempts, you keep feeling that weight, then you do a deload. Don't plan your deloads beforehand. Don't say, oh, every 4th week, I'm going to do a deload. There's no need. If you're making gains, why should you? If you're not having recovery problems, why should you? You only deload if you have to. And usually that's going to be as a result of life or overreaching, or you just keep failing to hit those PRs. Then eventually you need a deload. But most of you should be fine. If you're eating and sleeping enough and you actually are a novice lifter, I wouldn't see you doing many deloads. How many weeks do you go with using special exercises until you test out your competition lift? It could be whatever you want. Every 4th week, you can test your competition lift. That's a great way to do it. It could be every few months. It could be whenever you're feeling strong, once in a blue moon. It could be after a peaking cycle. Whatever. You're building your strength, and you can test it whenever the hell you want. For me, I go months without doing it usually. I'll perform exercises that are harder than the classic lift or something that's very similar. And I'll do that for a very long time, and then I'll just randomly test it, and I'll have a PR every single time. And if I don't get a PR, it means that I screwed up on the exercise rotation or the volume and intensity. But you can test it whenever you want, man. Some guys do every 4 weeks, some people every 2 months, some people every 3 months. Whenever you feel you're ready to do that lift, go ahead. Could a teenager pull off bear mode? Yes. The only difference is that you will not be as hairy. Now, the way that I see it, being bear mode as a teenager is a great thing to do for the simple reason that you're already in a calorie surplus. You're trying to grow. You have no plans on being ultra shredded. You've embraced the fact that you're going to be eating more food. Excellent. Use that opportunity to become bear mode. Don't overdo the body fat. Don't go above 20%. Obviously, most of you won't have a beard, but you can still look amazing. You're going to be a little bit fluffy. Maybe you'll be like an early intermediate lifter or something. Some people a little bit higher. You'll look great. You'll look like a total badass. You'll be one of the most jacked guys at your school. You will. You're going to have some good lean muscle tissue. Not the biggest guy, but you have some good muscle tissue. A little bit fluffier. You can wear some awesome clothes to maximize your losing strategies. There you go, man. You're rocking it. And especially with the training. I mean, you can hit your neck and traps right now. Start training your neck at a young age, bro. By the time you're an adult, you're going to look freaking awesome. That's like, it's beyond me that people don't train their necks now that we have the information. So yeah, man, as a teenager, you can definitely pull it off. I would say it's a great opportunity right now because you're already going to be eating a lot of food. And you're going to love it. You're going to love the gains. You're going to love the lifestyle. Enjoy it, my friend. Enjoy it. What powders do you add to your smoothies? I'm talking about my magic drinks. I'll be posting some videos on that soon. So stay tuned. There will be recipes on the way. But in the meantime, some of the powders I like to use are Amla, Triphala, Gotu Cola, Ashwagandha. I got a lot more though. I've become really into herbs this past year. It's been very fun learning about all this very stuff and natural things like that. I mean, it's something that really, really intrigues me. Like, I do a lot of research about this stuff, but I like Amla and Triphala if we're talking about the antioxidants. The Gotu Cola and the Ashwagandha has other benefits. And there's other adaptogenic herbs and things like that I could recommend, but that's a whole other topic, all right? Not trying to go hippie mode on you, but I think the stuff works. Everyone is talking about high volume bodyweight pull-ups for back size, but no one's talking about high volume dips for pec size. So what do you think about high volume bodyweight dips? Like doing 50 to 100 daily, maybe. Well, of course it's going to work, man. It's time tested for pull-ups and push-ups. Why would it not work for dips? I think the reason why people don't recommend this is because dips are harder, and you can't just do them everywhere unless you have a home gym. Or maybe you could do it in your kitchen or whatever, but push-ups are more feasible in the way that it's better for recovery. Dips can be quite problematic, if you will, on the shoulders. Not everyone can do them safely, and if you're performing high volume on a consistent basis, maybe overuse will settle in rather quickly. But look, if you're dipping every day and it's not causing any discomfort, I would say just keep doing it. It's absolutely going to work. And imagine if you're doing 100 dips in a row. I couldn't even build up to that. I think the max that I did was like 73 dips or 72, something like that. And then I just said, screw it. I didn't feel like going to 100. although I'll probably redo that very soon. So yeah, go ahead, man. Dips, grease in the groove, high volume. Just make sure you don't get injured, and you'll be good. Recently injured my right knee making pistol squats, almost impossible. Are there any other alternatives that will provide the same benefits as pistols? Yeah, at the same time, take the stress off my knee. I'm a calisthenics athlete, thank you. Well, a good variation that I could think of is the pistol box squat. So it's the same movement, except now you're deloading at the bottom. This is great for the simple reason that you can sit back more, which is going to emphasize the hamstrings more so than the quads, and you're deloading the knees. Now, I would leave the box to be around parallel. Don't go like ass to grass like your normal pistol squats. You'll have much better stability, and it shouldn't cause any problems. If you want another great movement, which will still give you great unilateral benefits, then lunges of all types. Now, the one that's going to work best for you, given this knee problem, is the reverse lunge, because now your knees aren't bending so much forward. I find the reverse lunge, you can feel the hamstrings and glutes a lot more, way less stress in the knees. Well, that's the reason why I started doing them a long time ago. Front lunges were always great, but I felt that the reverse were better on the knees. So try that out, either reverse lunge or the pistol box squat. Those are just some options, all right? Okay, boys, last question of the week. Been having this discomfort around my armpit area. I have to keep moving my arm or jiggle it so it doesn't feel it. But I think it started when I first started benching like 6-7 months ago, and I was doing it wrong. Should I be worried? Well, I wouldn't be too worried, provided that you're not seriously injured here. Now, I know what pain you're experiencing. It's right between the shoulder and the pec, right? Right here? Yeah, that's because you were benching with your elbows all the way flared out. Might have been doing half reps as well, and probably not retracting the scapula. So this was very likely a form issue that caused that problem. I recommend you look up some bench tutorials. Watch Dave Tate's Bench Press Cure. Learn how to do it the powerlifting way, really tucking those elbows in, full retraction of the scapula, and I think your problems will go away. You shouldn't get pain right here, man. And the same thing on your dumbbell presses. Don't be going all the way out to the sides, doing the half rep crap. That's why guys have problems. Same thing on overhead press when they do with dumbbells. It's always the same thing. Elbows super flared out, doing the half stuff, okay? I don't recommend that. So clean up your form a little bit. Start doing some connective tissue work. I know that Donnie Thompson has some amazing drills on this, where you can take a band to a power rack, shove it between that little tie-in area, and you can work around, okay? Do band, pec flies, a lot of rear delt work. You want to mobilize the area, okay? And I would also do a lot of push-ups as well, just bodyweight push-ups. Make sure that you're moving through space. And I think that the pain should go away. But the main issue was definitely form. So I'm not a medical professional. See a doctor. That's what a reasonable trainer would say. But these are some solutions that I've offered you, and I hope that it helps. So with that said, awesome Q&A as always. Put some more questions down below, and I will answer them all next week.